Well, it seems that 2021 is going to be the year of the video game industry consolidation into publishers for growing brands and growing wallets. And just a couple of weeks after the big Microsoft Activision buyout, Sony's responding with a buyout of their own, which is the mega giant Bungie, for those of you that are playing and loving Destiny. So in today's video, I want to talk about the details of that, talk about if this is a good idea or not from a consumer aspect of things. And then it also appears that Sony has way more up their sleeve because honestly, they need to respond to the Activision buyout from Microsoft in a much bigger way than just Bungie. Ladies and gentlemen, you have arrived at the LZ. Thanks for clicking this video. I'm sure there's going to be hundreds up today discussing the potential and larger buyouts from giant mega publishers. So let's just jump right into PlayStation buying Bungie, shall we? First off, let's start off with the message straight from PlayStation. And without getting too laborious with the readouts there, I'll put the links in the description below. Basically, they're coming out and saying, hey, we're buying Bungie, and we're going to let them stay independent and make whatever they want for whatever platforms they want. Now, obviously, contrast this with the messaging coming from Microsoft as concerning Call of Duty and all of the other Activision franchises that is still kind of up in the air about exclusivity, right? So if Sony are being honest about this, obviously, let's just call this what this is. This is a cash grab. This is Sony wanting to own Bungie for the sake of profiting off of Bungie's franchises, namely the Destiny franchise right now. Bungie being a perfectly competent studio, which, I'm really kind of curious about because I'm kind of getting confused about where Bungie wants to lie, right? They sort of escaped from Microsoft to get away from Halo and get away from the sort of mega publisher ownership ball and chain that Xbox surely had to have been back then. And now, of course, you had them sort of this sort of really weird marriage with Activision, and they escaped that. And here I am thinking that Bungie is going to be an independent studio for reals, which, I'm actually happy for them. I'm not a huge Destiny player. I dabble every once in a while. But it almost seems like Bungie is just better when they're by themselves, right? The minute they broke up with Activision was the minute they announced things like free-to-play and better content structures, and that's been iffy on the reception of that, but a net positive for how Bungie is being received and how their games are being received. Right away, Sony's coming straight out and saying, hey, this is not going to affect what platforms you can play Bungie games on. And I think that's kind of where Xbox has kind of failed because they've kind of kept it nebulous, right? They want to read the tea leaves. They want to lick their finger and stick it in the air and see which wind, direction the wind is blowing. Because if Microsoft could ever just get this small inkling that selling Call of Duty just particularly on one console would be more profitable to them than selling Call of Duty on other platforms, then they would absolutely do that. And honestly, I don't know that they ever would, right? Call of Duty is a giant franchise selling tens and tens of millions of copies across other platforms. If I'm Phil Spencer and I'm Microsoft and I want to maximize my profits from these games, I would definitely continue to launch these franchises on competing platforms, provided your competing platform holders would want to play nice with those kinds of deals. So I do appreciate the clarity that Sony is leading with on this and saying, hey, this is not going to affect your relationship with Bungie. But that also comes with a giant asterisk too, right? That could change whenever Sony wants to, right? Just 2 years from now, they could just totally pull a 180 and be like, we kind of just want it to be on our PlayStation platform, thanks. And let's just be honest, we know the only people who will be happy about that are PlayStation holders, right? Now, I haven't gone on record and said this yet, but I really think that there is a good time for something like this to happen and a bad time for something like this to happen. So I haven't gone on record and said it just yet, but I think that Microsoft acquiring Activision is a good thing. I think even though I don't particularly love the idea of a monopoly when it comes to, just tons and tons of franchises being under one umbrella, it's a net positive because Activision was it's such a quicksand, right? It's, you have 10 studios working on one franchise. There's no diversity in their intellectual property. There's no diversity in their workspaces when it comes to, how well their developers are being treated. And Microsoft, honestly, and I'm kind of a Sony pony by default right now because I don't own a Series X, but I've been playing Game Pass games like crazy on my PC, and I absolutely loved it. Infinite was great. Gears 5 is great. Forza is great. But Phil Spencer and the Xbox division of Microsoft has just been completely on a positive tear when it comes to how they treat their games, how they treat their studios, how they treat their relationship with their fans, right? Phil Spencer had a giant mess to clean up when it came to the mess that the Xbox One, the initial launch of the Xbox One, created for them. And I think he's done phenomenally on that. Activision had terrible leadership, had terrible direction, treated their developers and their employees like garbage. And so, even though all of these intellectual properties are now owned by Microsoft, they're owned by, at least for now, a great company that will hopefully do those intellectual properties justice. Now I look at Sony and Bungie and I'm thinking, that was not true. This is not a true thing. Bungie is not in a situation that Activision is, right? As a matter of fact, Bungie tried very hard to get away from that situation, to not be partnered or tied to Activision, because they knew that it's just a garbage company to work for and a garbage company to work with. So I can't help but think cynically that Sony at this moment is just buying Bungie because it's just more cash flow for them, right? I'm excited to see what they do with it. I'm not excited for the potential that it brings, that Sony could just at any one moment change their mind about how this relationship goes, right? Remember, recently, this was the company that we had to fight with in order to get them to just get with the times on some of the things that gamers really wanted, right? When you remember how bullish they were about crossplay. You remember how bullish they were about just sharing, multi-platform titles with other platform holders. It was like pulling teeth. Gamers Sony fans are crying for a Game Pass-like structure that Microsoft already has, probably the best value in gaming today. And I'm just really wondering how this is going to go for Sony. And to top it all off, to finish off with this, apparently Jim Ryan at Sony is not done looking to acquire other studios, right? And so, again, I preface the conversation with, okay, what are some good acquisitions that Sony, as a platform holder and a publisher, could make? And immediately, my first thought goes to something like Konami, right? That is a Microsoft Activision situation where you're taking a somewhat good publisher for a super popular platform right now, and you're gobbling up an intellectual property holder. I don't even want to say publisher at this point because they're doing absolutely nothing for their most valued IP other than garbage and gambling machines, right? It's been rumored already for the last couple of years that they have more Metal Gear in development, like Metal Gear remakes, Silent Hill remakes, right? This is what people are craving right now. It's been, as a Metal Gear fan, and I've talked to other Metal Gear fans about this, the empty place that we have in our gaming libraries without new Metal Gears, without new Silent Hills. This is torture, and it's absolutely horrible what Konami is doing with their franchises. If I'm Jim Ryan and I am Sony worldwide, I would be asking Konami how much do you want, right? I would be saying, okay, now that's not as big an acquisition as Activision, right? Sony could be looking at Electronic Arts right now, for all I know. I don't know that they're as open for a sale as Activision. Electronic Arts has their own hot water that they have to deal with right now, which is just completely garbage launching their franchises. Battlefield 2042 right now is in such hot water. And I don't even think it's all DICE's fault, right? A lot of this has to do with EA. Creative decisions we can criticize DICE for. But I don't know that Sony's going to aim that high. I don't know that they have the money in their pockets to drop, another 60, 80 billion for something like Electronic Arts. So if I'm PlayStation, I'm going to aim a little lower, and I'm going to shock the world by announcing a new Metal Gear, by buying Konami, What do you think? Do you think this is good? Do you think this was a good idea for them to do, for them to buy Bungie, even though it doesn't seem like, at least from what they say right now, is going to change anything? Well, throw it into the comment section down below. I want to hear from you if you're a Bungie fan, if you're a Destiny fan, if you're a Sony fan, or if you're not and you're just completely worried about this, and what kind of precedent it sets. Of course, like and subscribe for more. Thanks for hanging out in the LZ. See you in the next one.